and you had to do all of this scrambling and this organizing. Did you have a staff to help you with all of this?
Yeah, well, we had this team of people that I'd gathered from literally around the world. The other faith groups were organized with spiritual leaders that were from the region, and I helped coordinate them. I had previous experience, so I was able to help them know what the rhythms of the village would be and so on. And then with the Christian community, I was able to have experienced people, for instance, very good friend, Chaplin of Manchester United. And he was in the village. He was like a rock, working with the rest of the chaplaincy team to really set up those books of condolences and be ready to serve. We had chaplains that had experience in critical incident. They were ready to go. They knew exactly the right things to do. I had several people spoke Russian language and so on, and they were able to connect because the Georgian delegation also, of course, spoke Russian. And within 2 hours, one of our chaplains was able to pray alongside of the coach of the luger, and of course the guy was heartbroken. He'd been alongside of him since he was a child training. It's like losing a son, obviously. And to have the right people there, being present, it's like all that work, all of that organization to get the right people there. It's like, you know, God saying, it's good you're there.
Yeah, really. I heard a number of observers, commentators on television and also in the newspaper say that the Olympics might be remembered more for the death of that luger than anything else. It really was a worldwide event, this one young man. And to think that you and your staff were there to assist them is a comfort. Now, what about you're working with Hindus, Muslims, who else were in these major faith groups?
Also the Buddhists and our Jewish friends. And it was classic, like if you were running a university chaplaincy or a hospital chaplaincy, the faith groups are going to be represented. That's part of the IOC's mandate. And you want to be able to work with people that respect each other. But the mandate is to have multi-faith offering. So when a athlete comes and they're expecting Christian worship and the Bible, that's what they receive. It's true to the Christian faith. And so it was the same also for the Muslim community or other communities as well. Their athletes or their volunteers found the faith offering that they would be accustomed to, and that's what the mandate is.
Now, you've had a lot of experience with this. You had this terrible tragedy of the Georgian luger dying. Apart from that, was there anything that happened in the Vancouver Olympics that was especially a surprise or a joy for you, or maybe a disappointment that took you by surprise?
Well, I just found myself so involved with the organizing committee at VANOC for, especially intensely the last 2 or 3 years, but really from Torino in 2006 on. And I guess it wouldn't maybe make sense, but part of my surprise was the unbelievable sense of commitment, connection with the staff there, their commitment to the multi-faith centers, the sense of friendship and camaraderie we had. And when we hit times like the tragic death and other things, how you were also able to be their chaplain, to be their friend. Definitely, Jim, the deepest impact in my life, the deepest meaning for me, ended up being about my fellow Vancouverites, working together with them, because that's the folks that I had this extended relationship with. They really do mean a lot to me. They meant a lot to me. I've offered them free wedding services and ongoing chaplaincy, and that's the way it should be, right? I mean, we're not just doing a professional thing here. It's heart to heart and
relational.
Yeah.
Now, we got about 3 minutes left, Dave. Let's just shift here. What is the state of denominational Christianity in Canada these days? You're the General Superintendent of the biggest, I think, Protestant evangelical denomination in the nation. Is it healthy? Is it sort of static? Is it declining, growing? Where are we at?
I think we're in I view it as both challenging, exciting, because obviously we're being called to do ministry like Jesus, like never before. We can't do the franchise thing. I mean, you go to different Pentecostal assembly churches across Canada, you'll find everything from folks meeting in a lounge in a rec center, all the way through to the classical large church out in the suburb doing a great job of multiple programs for families. And in the midst of that is, well, where are Canadians at? And it's the denominational church, it's of course other communities of faith as well. You got to be responding to, well, if that doesn't mean a thing to people about what you're doing over in that building on that corner, one of two things. Either you make it mean something by connecting with them, having relationship, and them clearly seeing a track to join with you in that context. Or like Jesus, you go and you go be among, you get into the neighborhood, and you express gracious truth in their context, alongside of them. And that may be where you end up. You don't end up necessarily coming back to the corner church and to the building and to the programs. And so my challenge, and those leaders that work alongside of me, is on one hand to have help the existing church do what it's doing well, doing what they would do like Jesus, but saying, really, the majority of Canadians probably aren't going to connect with that. So in addition, not better, not worse, but just in addition, how, like Jesus, do we go be among, full of grace and truth? And frankly, that's why I, a denominational leader, still strongly believe in what I'm doing in sports chaplaincy. I spent 2 months not in a church building, not locked away in my offices. I was out in athletes' villages and spread throughout the city and up at Whistler and so on. Why? Because that's where Canadians are. And I want to be where Canadians are.
Well, there you go. Well, if ever there was a fluid model of modern church leadership, David Wells is it. Thanks for coming our way, David. Great story.
My privilege, Jim. Always good to be with you.
I look forward to seeing you again.
Yeah.
We'll be back with more right after this, friends.